Welcome back to Mental Health for Creative Minds. I'm your host and fellow television professional, Jessica McGann. And today we have the privilege of learning from Marlene Zehnter, a somatic coach and dream realizer who helps free spirits like you and I live our out-of-the-box dreams. In this episode, Marlene breaks down the methodology around somatics and teaches us about the importance of grounding the nervous system, along with giving us some grounding techniques. Throughout this conversation, Marlene guides us on how to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, take grounded and aligned action, and develop genuine self-love. Best of all, she shares practical techniques and insights that can help creatives like you and I stay balanced and thrive in the pursuit of our dreams. This episode is truly packed with wisdom and actionable steps to help you regulate your nervous system and enhance your mental well-being. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Marlene, I am so excited to have you on this week's episode of Mental Health for Creative Minds. Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love that you work with somatics, and I really wanted to bring that into this podcast because somatics have been deeply transformational and helpful for me in my own healing journey and through burnout and what I want to bring and contribute to help my clients. But before we get into that, maybe you could just give us a definition. I know what it is, but for anyone who doesn't understand, what is somatics?
Yeah. So somatics is basically body oriented. It works with the body. So you're working with the sensations that you're experiencing in your body and also the movements, like the waves that are taking place in your body, whether that is the beating heart, the breathing, or it's your body is moving forward or leaning back, or it's like your stomach is cramping or you're noticing some form of contraction in the chest. So it's basically working with the body.
Yeah, the soma is the body. If that's what that word kind of translates to. When I was in my somatic training, I remember the teacher saying, there's only life and movement. It's in our heartbeat, it's in our breath, it's in our body. When we stop moving, we stop living. And like, that was one of the introductions. And I've never forgotten that. I suffer with depression. So that wants to keep me still. That wants to keep me low. And learning how somatics could help me move out of that and the importance of it was so transformational. So today we're learning about somatics and how that can help us as creatives move through this world of instability or even seeing our own value in it. And the somatics works with the nervous system. Can you kind of explain or break that down a little bit for us, how that works with our nervous system?
Yeah, sure. So I always like saying that our nervous system communicates through our body. So whatever is happening in our body is basically what's taking place in your nervous system, your heartbeat, your breathing, the same things that I mentioned at the beginning. That is the nervous system communicating with you through the sensations in your body. And so when I speak about the nervous system, I speak about just one part of the nervous system, which is the autonomic nervous system. So that part is responsible for all the processes in your body that work without you putting a conscious effort into them to work. So your digestion, as I said, breathing, heart rate, body temperature, those are all things that are naturally and automatically controlled by the nervous system, let's say. So all these sensations that I described before, those are expressions of the nervous system. And our nervous system basically can be there's two modes of the nervous system. And these two modes can take place in three different constellations. You have the parasympathetic mode, that is basically the slowing down mode, your brake pedal, everything. So here it slows your breathing down. It makes sure that the blood flows into the digestion. And the lungs are like, you're not needing to pump so much energy into your body. So they're breathing regularly. They're not too they're more contracted than expanded. And so that is the parasympathetic. And then on the other hand, you have the sympathetic mode. That is your gas pedal. So that's the speed up system. That is when your heart starts beating faster, when the body temperature gets heated.
Mm-hmm.
That is when the blood flows in our extremities because we need to be ready to act and to move and to either run away or to attack something to defend ourselves. And so these two modes, they can take place in three different constellations. One is when only the parasympathetic is activated.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically the place that we nowadays called being grounded. So we're relaxed here, we can rest here, that's also the rest and digest mode because our body can regenerate in that place. Ideally, we sleep in that place. Now, when life happens, then things start speeding up, which is very natural. And that is when the sympathetic mode only is activated. So only the gas pedal. And it kind of like starts slow and can grow bigger and bigger. And you have different expressions of this, the sympathetic mode. The most important thing is that there's always movement. There's either movement away or movement towards something that is normally called fight and flight. And so when these sensations and when this gets too much, like imagine we are like at the highest place of the gas pedal, the gas is fully like pressed down.
Mm-hmm.
We're at panic and rage, something those are very intense experiences to have. Then our nervous system can decide, okay, this is too much to cope with it right now. And what happens then is very fascinating because side by side with the gas pedal, our nervous system kicks in the brake. So you have all that speed up energy, and that is kind of like embraced or numbed by the parasympathetic mode. Mm-hmm. In order for us to have a breather from the intensity of that experience, in order for us to be a bit more numb so that we don't feel these uncomfortable sensations or the pains. And also, this is a place where we go to prepare for death. Because like these are all like the nervous system is something very instinctual that was born with reptiles and also like through the mammals. And so when there was a very strong danger for a mammal before, and the nervous system understands, okay, this is a life death situation, they will go into this freeze state. Yes. And to kind of like prepare to numb from the pain that might occur, but also to prepare for the death, and to appear as immobile towards the threat so that the threat loses interest. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the two reasons why we have that freeze place is in order to make us immobile so that we are not visible and that people can't attack us anymore. And also in order to numb the pain that is there. And that is still with us, even though we don't have, or luckily, I don't have these kind of life-threatening experiences in my life. Yeah. But yeah, it still functions the same way, even though I don't have that life-threatening. The freeze is still there. The fight, flight is still there. And it's just, our nervous system being at work. It's what normally happens throughout a day, naturally, going up and down multiple times.
Our world has just developed faster than our nervous systems or our brains has. So to your point, what we perceive as like life dangers sometimes are actually just your boss yelling at you, but your nervous system can't tell the difference. So when someone is yelling at you on set, or if you're yelling at someone on set, or, being aggressive towards someone, say, you're sending someone into a dysregulated state. And I'm sure we'll get into what happens in those states, but you address, fight or flight, which is in that sympathetic. Then we've got the parasympathetic, which is freeze or disassociate, which is another. And then another one that has been added to the list is appease, which I think was probably more in that sympathetic place. I know for me, I definitely, my fear response is freeze or appease or disassociate. I get really easily triggered into that down place.
Into these places. Yeah.
Do you have any idea of where we develop our response systems from?
I do want to preface this first of all, because I think it's so important to understand that all of these reactions are there to protect. So they're nothing, it's nothing bad. It's nothing that needs to kind of like go away. It's just something how our body has learned to protect us. And it's beautiful because it will always work. Our nervous system, if I know something, is that our nervous system always works. And so these protective mechanisms are really, really, truly beautiful. Now, most of these, let's say, if you're talking about this, okay, I tend to go to the freeze, I tend to go to appease, and tend to go into the dissociation. When we look at it that way, then we see a pattern. And most of these like patterns for the nervous system, they were developed in earlier stages in our lives. So early childhood, even like toddler, baby years, up until teenage years, I'd say there's still moments, and even later, there can still be moments that affect the nervous system.
Yeah.
So whereas the core patterns that we have, they are probably developed earlier in the days in our life. Generally patterns can evolve over time as well, and they can like be added because we still have, and that might be interesting to understand as well, when we have that repeating pattern, what does that mean is that our nervous system in that moment when that pattern was born wasn't able to fully cope with the stimulus that it received. And what then happens, that's what we call trauma nowadays. You can have small t trauma, big T trauma. That doesn't matter really, but I mean, it doesn't matter. There's a difference to that. But either way, there's a stimulus that the nervous system wasn't able to integrate in that moment. And in order for the nervous system to then integrate it, these like patterns will show up again and again and again in life. So
Yeah.
every single time when we meet our patterns, like when that same reaction happens, this is actually an opportunity for us to really integrate that original stimulus. But this is some things like we're really good in nowadays society. We have like we can go up, but we have unlearned to come back down. There is actually something that we can do about that. Yeah.
So let's get into that because you actually specialize in working with big dreamers. And a lot of us
Yes.
creators, we've got some big dreams and we need a regulated nervous system in order to achieve said dreams. What are your 4 core capacities for people with bold dreams?
So I just want to like give this example because yes, like I love working with people with big dreams, and the nervous system work is super, super important. Most of the time, people that come to me that work with me, they have some form of passion project, which I consider to be a big dream. So many of the people that come to me to work with me, they often have this idea of I just need to change how I act. I just need to change my behavior. I just need to do this. I just need to do that. I just need to post on Instagram. I just need to market myself. I just need to know how to sell things better. I just need to, and it comes even down to, I just need to be more organized and more structured. And I just need to exercise more or sleep, like go earlier to bed, go later to bed, whatsoever. So most of the people, they have learned to address their actions, and the way how they choose to do it is then oftentimes by shooting themselves into taking action, by forcing themselves, by disciplining themselves into taking action. And this way just doesn't work. I've tried it. I've seen many people try it. I haven't seen anybody where this actually works in a way that I say is sustainable and regenerative for people. It often comes at the cost of health, or it comes at the cost of relationships, or it comes at the cost of something else.
It has a tone
And
of it has like a tone of shaming around it. I'm going to shame
yeah,
myself into action, where we've learned that that's not actually how change happens. It's through love, it's through kindness, it's through joy that change is actually
exactly.
possible. So how do we get out of those shoulds and into a more
Yeah,
positive frame for that change?
totally. 100%. And so the interesting thing is then, okay, so if it's not the action that we're changing, you're saying it already, there's something else that we need to have a look at. So, and the thing can be as well, is like, it can be that it's simply a strategy thing. And it's like, you just do this and that. And when you find it easy to implement that action, great. But most of the times that it doesn't come as easily for us. But the thing is that actions are needed in order to create dreams, and different actions are needed in order to create dreams. And so what we want to have a look at that is then is that our actions, they're influenced, as you said, by our thoughts and our emotions. You know, those are affirmations, those are our emotions. And these thoughts and these emotions, they are influenced by the state of our nervous system. So let's take this example. When our nervous system doesn't feel safe, and I mean, hand to the heart, as a self-entrepreneur person, like as a self-employed person, entrepreneur, as a creative, there are so many insecurities that we are facing,
Mhm.
like financial ones, exposing yourself, showing your vulnerability, being exposed to judgment from others. Those are big, big threats to our nervous system.
Yeah.
And so when our nervous system doesn't feel safe, it will create like contractions, for an instance, in the body. We want to go back, we want to go hide because we're experiencing the emotion called self-doubt. And then we think, oh, I can't do this. I don't have what it takes. My art is not good enough, yada, 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 yada. And then we do not take action. So if we're stuck in action, we really want to have a look at the other things that happened before that. And this is why, based on this, and I feel that every self-employed person can probably relate to what I just shared, but based on this, I created these 4 core capacities that I feel that I've observed with my clients, within myself. Those are the capacities that we need to develop. And they are like, everybody is able to develop these in order to take action and create our dreams.
Yeah.
And so the first one is the capacity to observe yourself.
Mhm.
And the crucial part with this one is that it doesn't come with judgment nor with identification. So we're creating space to what our experience is, to what our thoughts are. We're just observing our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations without judgment
Yeah.
and without identifying. The next one, and I like said them the wrong way around, but it doesn't
I was
matter. That's
wondering, I was
okay.
like, oh, did we get rid of grounding?
No, we didn't get rid of grounding. I just forgot about it. So the first one is actually the grounding, which means to be able or to learn the capacity to regulate your nervous system and in-source your sense of safety.
Mhm.
So many of us, we believe that our safety depends on the numbers in our bank account, that our safety depends on what other people might think of us, on the clicks, on the likes, on whatever, on the sales that we're making. You know, so many people, we believe that there is something external that will give us safety.
Mhm.
But the truth is, it goes the other way around. Safety is a sensation. You could have right now an experience of safety and you have money, but you could also have the experience of unsafety, but you still have money, you know? So
Yes.
it's literally, it's a sensation that takes place in your body. It's the nervous system speaking. So if we know that, then we also know, hey, my sense of safety, I have ownership over that. I have ownership over my sense of safety. And they're like very like exercises that you can do. They're like very easy bodily things that you can do to signal safety to your nervous system. And that is the capacity to ground. And I believe that is so, so important because especially for people with big dreams, if you have a big dream, well, this is something completely new for your nervous system. And something
Yeah.
that's new for your nervous system is going to freak the shit out of your nervous system. And so you really do need to learn how to ground. And the bigger the dream, the more you need to be able to ground yourself.
Totally. I mean, so many of the times that I think of my business or what I want to do with my life, I've got lots of big dreams. You want to talk about big dreamers? I am a big dreamer. And sometimes what will happen is my mind will shoot so far forward to the top of the mountain that it will put me into a state of freeze because then I see all the things, all the hopes, the dreams. I'll see it all the way to my deathbed. And then I'll freeze here in the moment going, how am I going to do that? I can't do that. And all the fear and the grounding brings you back to this moment, to the what's
Yeah.
the first step? What's the next step? Let's start here and now. And I'm sure we'll get into a bunch of grounding techniques, but I definitely want to hear the next 2 parts before we get into each of these parts more thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the next capacity, that is the one to act. And I find it interesting because I feel that our society nowadays, we need a little bit of a paradigm shift from moving from fear-based action towards love-based action, meaning like we've learned, that's the shoulding, we've learned to discipline, we've learned to judge ourselves. And oftentimes what this creates is a resentment towards taking action. Or it just it creates the opposite, and you're constantly in action because you're constantly scared. And so you do, but at the end of that, you burn out.
Yeah.
And so, what is crucial about this new way of acting is that you start creating plans and take action and shift behaviors in a way that it actually nourishes you, and that it makes you feel that you're totally all right the way that you are. So you want to base your strategies on your values, on your strength, and you definitely want to shift in a slower pace. Because the thing is, it's kind of like the dieting process. When we want to change in like a behavior from one day to the next, and we start to like force that on ourselves, like for a longer period, it kind of at some point it switches, it kind of like kicks back in. And then you have that yo-yo effect, the dieting yo-yo effect, and you go all the way back again. And
Yeah.
so you really want to do it kindly. You want to shift your actions and your behaviors in a very kind manner, in a way that sets you up for success. I see so many plans and strategies that are just not made to set you up for success, because they have too high expectations, because they're not working with your values, they're not working with your strength, and that just doesn't work.
What I'm hearing a lot from what you just shared there is that it's the engine behind your action that really makes the world of the difference. It's not maybe the list or the actions themselves. It's what's powering that decision, what's powering that choice, what's powering how you're moving through with that action. And is it out of fear and stress and dysregulation, or is it coming from a grounded place, a knowing place, a loving place for yourself and for those around you?
Yeah. Totally. And the interesting thing about this is, I actually really like that. It's like grounded action.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is, when you act from that place, naturally more aliveness will come into your body. You will feel more vital, you will feel more energy, because you're taking action that is based on appreciating you.
I totally hear what you're saying. And so what is the fourth step?
Fourth one. So the fourth one for me is, next to the grounding one, probably my favorite, which is the capacity to love. And with that, I mean, when we like to develop a sense of self-love that is stronger than any naysayers, any doubts, any any critics. And for me, this one is so crucial, because this means two things. One is, if you love yourself, you know how to take care of yourself. And you will prioritize taking care of yourself. I have so many people that have a passion project, they completely neglect their well-being, because they're A, very passionate about their reason why, but also B, they have the sense of they need to do it, and it needs to happen fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have the capacity to love yourself, you know how to nourish yourself in a way that you can maintain your energy and sustain it over time. Because ultimately, that's what's the sustaining it over time, maintaining it over time, creating consistency over time, that is what's going to lead to success. And the second part with this capacity is the learning to embrace all of you, even the parts that you have learned not to like, the part that hides behind Netflix or YouTube, the part that binges, the part that procrastinates, the part that criticizes herself, the part that judges herself, that judges others, maybe even that compares herself to others. All of these, the part that doubts herself massively, all of these parts we want to learn to really embrace and love and appreciate, but genuinely appreciate, not like from that, oh yeah, it's okay, I like him, but then deep down it's like, this, no, actually I don't. So it's really about embracing all of who you are, with your strength and with your weaknesses, and really loving those.
That goal is a great acronym. And I love that you've kind of put these steps into place. They're very much aligned with how I have used somatics in my everyday life. And truly, to anyone who is listening right now, who works in film, who might be going, I don't have enough time to implement all of this stuff, or it's not possible with the pressures or what's happening. It really is, when you can change your inner world, it really does make a massive difference in the world that surrounds you. So let's get into these steps a little bit more, and break them down a little bit. And starting with grounding, which is, like, if anything, the most important part. Like it's the step A. You got to do it. And learning these grounding techniques is, if you take anything away from this episode, I hope it's these grounding techniques, because they make a world of a difference. Do you have a couple favorites that you want to introduce us to, perhaps?
Oh my God, I have so many.
I want you to think of ones that someone in a high pressure work environment, they're working 12 plus hours. They've got like maybe 5 minutes to ground themselves. What might be, I have a couple, if you don't touch on them, but I'll share, but what would you bring in?
Yeah. One of my favorites is to allow the eyes to have a look around the room. That is something. So when we look around the room, what we're doing is we're consciously allowing our nervous system to take in our surroundings and to realize that there's nothing threatening around us. And so this is based on the orienting response, and that response takes place in our neck and in our eyes. The more we move our eyes and neck around as we're having a look around the room, the more we might notice that our nervous system is slowing down.
I immediately noticed a difference, because I've been so focused on running in this podcast. The moment I just stopped to look around and listen to you, notice an immediate shift. And I'm not even that activated, but right on down. I like that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a powerful one. Yeah.
And that's one that you can do at any time from anywhere. Literally no excuse. That's a good one. Okay. What's another one?
Well, I kind of want so everything that is in movement with the body or in touch with the body kind of helps. So it's like self-massaging the hands, the arms, or stroking. This actually being in contact with your own skin creates or produces the hormone oxytocin. And that is a hormone that signals safety to our body. It's also called the cuddle hormone. So touching your skin is something really beneficial to do.
That makes a lot of sense. Cuddling and hugs are, if I'm around people, those are one of my favorite ways to ground. When I'm really activated, when I'm super stressed, I'd ask my partner for a cuddle or something like that. And I would just notice a huge difference, because another fun fact is that we can co-regulate each other's nervous systems. And if you're in a really big, deep space of dysregulation, being around someone who is grounded and in a secure place in their nervous system can actually be infectious in a great way.
Yeah, totally. 100%. And so like another one that I also really like is one hand on the head, on the forehead, the other hand on the neck. The neck is something very, very important, because this is where the vagus nerve runs through. And so connecting with the neck through touching it, through tapping it, through stroking it really helps. So we can give that a try even right now. Yeah, and just notice what happens to your body when you place one hand on the forehead, the other hand onto your neck.
I understand the neck. Why the hand on the forehead?
I mean, to me, I mean, this is an interpretation that I would make.
Oh,
but I don't know how you are, but I feel this is something that I remember from childhood. You know, somebody touching me here. It was something very soothing here. But generally like touching, and I also like touching the chest or touching the bellies, like you can go like up and down. That is something very, very potent to do. And as I said, like one of my most favorites is tapping the neck, just tapping up and down. It's super interesting. It's reprogramming the way how your nervous system functions.
Yeah. Want to hear a couple of
what are your favorites?
Yeah.
Please. I always want to learn new grounding exercises. I love this.
I'll give you two, because you gave me two. So one of my favorite ones is the butterfly hug, because it again mimics that of a hug, and then adding that tapping, just slow tapping and trying to regulate your breath like to be as slow as the tapping. And it's just, I find very soothing. I can't speak about it as eloquently as you, but that's one. And then the second one I learned from Allison Stoner, who is a child actress. You might have seen her in like Missy Elliott videos. She was a dancer, and she has an amazing podcast around the mental well-being of child actors in this industry. What is it called? Oh, it's called Dear Hollywood. And one of her techniques I learned from her is you take your hand and you follow your fingers and your breath. So the pinky is one breath in and out. And the next finger is 2. And out for 2. And then 3. 1, 2, 3. And then 4. And out for 4. And 5. And I like this one because somatically it attaches you to your body. It has you connecting through touch. And then it's also helping you slow down your breathing. Sometimes you can be like, I can know that I need to slow down my breathing and I'm trying, but it feels almost really difficult at the moment. And this just helps me connect to that breath a little bit more. Yeah, those are my 2.
I love that. I love that. I've never done this one, but so what I really like about it, if I understood it right, is like you're with every finger you increase the count of your breathing. You're in like,
Yes.
oh, I love that. I'm gonna definitely take that one away.
Yeah, you can definitely take that away. And that's what we want to do, right? Like our breathing is going to be up when we're activated. So we just want to slow it down. Do you have any other notes regarding grounding before I move on to observing?
More that this is the baseline for all the others. I feel it's kind of like at the base of everything. And if there's one, I mean, obviously there are people out there that have worked with their nervous system, but if there's one skill that I recommend people to develop and to focus on first, it's this one.
Yeah. Finding the grounding techniques that are going to work for you, that you can whip out like that you can do at any place and anywhere. And I think the 4 that we just offered, you really can do those at any time.
To add to that, there's also other techniques for the nervous system to regulate it. Like there are techniques, the one that I'm trained in is called tension and trauma releasing exercises, TRE. That's one technique. There's breath work that really supports with the holotropic breath work or any other type of breath work that really works with the nervous system. And there are like so many others that are really, really supportive. So just like find your thing, your technique with a nervous system oriented approach.
I know when I was beginning this work or my own healing journey before I did any studies, and people would tell me to breathe, and I'd be like, go fuck yourself. Stop telling me to breathe. Breathing isn't going to help anything. But unfortunately, I'm so sorry. If you are like me, once upon a time, it does actually help. And it's scientifically proven to help. You just need to find and practice it just like anything else. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard at first. I understand the resistance, but there is so much science based around breathing and how it can be tremendously healing and good for us. So yeah, breathing techniques, huge one in the grounding world.
100%. Yeah. And I love that you're bringing up this like resistance that one can have at the beginning. There is something that I want to kind of like add to this is like, because oftentimes, and I don't know if that's the same, but for an instance, when we meditate, we force ourselves to sit in stillness, whereas what the body actually needs and the nervous system needs is to express and to release the movement out of it. So if you're finding it hard to start with meditation, or if you're finding it hard to start with a breath work, I invite you look for a technique that works with more movement. Because that is kind of like an easier way in, because then you get to move and you get to release that energy.
Do you have any experience with authentic movement?
No.
Oh, I should. Authentic movement is actually something that I practiced in theater school, and I really thought we were cuckoo bananas for it. But I've learned it again through my somatic training, and it really is. It's again, so authentic movement is a practice where you truly just listen to your body for whatever time you have set forth. And this is why we felt cuckoo bananas, because it was just literally like, if your body wants to roll, you roll. If your wrist wants, it's about listening to the body and what it needs in that moment. I do this with clients in which the work fits for now. And it really is just, I'm just like authentically moving through this conversation, but it really is such a great way to get in tune with that. And it's a beautiful way of meditation. If you are someone who struggles to sit still, that is not easy for a lot of us. So don't sit still, move, listen to the body then. I love that. And I feel like that naturally brings us into the second part of observing. So what are some ways that creatives can learn to observe and embrace all aspects of themselves, even the parts that they may judge or shame themselves for?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, noticing that that is the case tremendously helps. It's that, just notice whenever you judge. It's okay to judge yourself. It's okay. It's okay to judge your thoughts. It's okay to identify with your thoughts. The first step is about noticing it. And the thing is that whenever your nervous system feels safe, you will notice it. So this is why I say the grounding, the nervous system work is at the base of everything, because it definitely, the more you do the nervous system work, the more capacity you will have to observe yourself. But one thing how you can practice observing yourself are meditations that focus on body scans. So it's not a still meditation, it's you're wandering around your body to understand, okay, what sensations do I feel here right now? Just to create, to notice, and then even to say it. Okay, I notice I'm breathing slow. I notice that my shoulders are a bit higher than usual. I notice that my belly stomach is a little bit nervous, and just like stating these things and practicing, you can take that like 1 minute per day and just tune into and just share what you're noticing with yourself. That is one really beautiful way to practice that and to move away from the judgment and from the identification.
Observing is a huge part of this work. I know for me, and what I work with my clients on is observing what is activating our nervous systems and what that activation feels like. So you can start, because sometimes our bodies are going to recognize fear or register fear before our mind can cognitively understand what's happening. So start practicing observing what that feels like. What does it feel like when you start to get scared or stressed? What does that resonate in your body, so you can gain that awareness? But then there's also in times where you feel like there's so much bad happening around you, there's also that practice of awareness for the good and what is positive about what's happening, and also recognizing what sparks joy in your nervous system, what soothes your nervous system, getting a lot of curiosity, and like you said, just actively bringing that awareness. Oh, when I hang out with this person, I feel like my cup is full afterwards. I'm going to remember that. Oh, I went for a run tonight, even though I didn't want to, and I did feel better afterwards. Okay, I'm going to recognize that. Like taking those actual intentional moments to observe and recognize both the bad and the good, really is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I love that. It's the triggers and the glimmers, they're called. I feel like
the triggers and the glimmers. I love that.
Yeah. One thing that I want to add to that, or one resource that I want to add to that, that has really tremendously shifted the way how I am relating to my thoughts and to what my mind is towards what my mind is presenting me with, is the work of Byron Katie. And she has, it's literally called The Work of Byron Katie, and she has free resources on her website, and it's just an incredible being, very fascinating tool. Everybody can access that.
Great. I'll have to find that and put that into the episode description.
Yeah.
So we're grounded, we're aware. The next part is action, which I think that a lot of people more so listening are probably stuck in that action, like being in action for such an extended amount of time, because creatives, we're hustlers, we're go-getters, we work these long days and we've got lots of things to do on those lists. So many creatives push themselves too hard or force action. How can they shift or start making shifts to a more natural, regenerative, and conscientious actions?
So for me, the premise here again is the grounding, because the more grounded we are, the more we can observe what we're actually in alignment with and what not. Because sometimes we can set goals that are actually not aligned within ourselves, but they're trying to make a point, prove something. We're a little bit in this, when this happens, then I'm happy. When this happens, then I can relax. When this, then. So the nervous system work really helps to detach from these when this, then that statements. Plus, I do feel, and this is why I know it doesn't really function with the way how people think with the goal acronym. But to be honest, before the action, the loving part is probably really crucial, because the more you love yourself, the more you will create strategies based on that love for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe let's put this into an example. I have one of my mechanisms whenever I am stressed out is self-doubt. And this self-doubt manifests often in some way of binging food, binging series, and really just kind of like hiding and numbing and isolating myself here. Now, the past Marlene version would have said, oh, I should just not eat this, or I should just not do that, or why can I just not switch off I should just not watch Netflix. Why can I just not switch it off? I should just move my butt, you know? And so in that moment, when I actually say, okay, so I can see where I am right now, and I can see where I want to be. The loving way of moving from here to there is not to say, okay, from one day to the next, I change this, but it's saying, okay, so what is the 2 degrees that I need to do here? What is the next step that I need to focus on? What is one thing that I can do? And also what is very, very important here, I feel, this is my experience with myself and with my clients. Whenever we are stuck in that, there is a deeper message of that behavior underneath. There's a deeper desire underneath. For me, it often boils down to I want to experience joy and happiness in my life. I don't want to always have to work so hard. I'm tired of working, so I'm going to just numb myself in front of Netflix. And because the work is not working, like because I don't feel successful enough and the self-doubt kicks in, it's then like, okay, so I'm just going to retreat here and I'm just going to hide. I'm just going to numb. So, but the underneath, the desire underneath is for me to prioritize my joy and my happiness and to support myself lovingly and encourage myself into getting there. So if I now shift, for an instance, my surroundings suddenly, that gives me more joy. Like maybe I go to dance classes because they give me joy, or I just go out dancing. I don't even need to go to classes. Or maybe it's about, okay, so if I know that what helps me is being surrounded by people and being in connection, I'm going to prioritize this more. And the more we prioritize our joy, the more we naturally create the energy. And then what happens is we don't even want to look and we don't even want to binge anymore. We don't want to watch Netflix. We don't want to eat anymore because we're satisfied and we're happy. So this is because it's working with a deeper desire underneath. And so this is something underneath every behavior and every action that we're taking, even the ones that we do not like, there is a deeper desire underneath that has a good intention. And if we find out that desire, we can create our plans and strategy based on that. So I can now say, okay, I'm going to prioritize my joy. I'm going to prioritize my sense of freedom and movement because I know this feeds my energy, it gives me energy, and I stop being lethargic. That makes sense. So it's
It
kind of
makes,
like more joyful acting.
yeah, it makes total sense. I feel like you talked about this inability to step into action in your example.
All right.
Whereas in TV, what I feel like I see more often is people stuck in a state of action.
Yeah.
They're always switched on, that it's really
Yeah.
hard to switch off, especially say at the end of a long day, knowing you've got another one and another
Yeah.
one and another one coming up right after it.
Gotcha.
the
Yeah.
switching off can be the hard part.
Yes. Yeah, I hear that. So would you be open for an experiment here and to dive a little bit into that one?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So assuming from the way how you've shared that, you have had experience with that. Am
Absolutely.
I assuming that right? Okay, cool. So can you remember the last time when that pattern kicked in and you just needed to do?
Yeah.
Want you to be in that situation, to visualize that situation and to slow it down a little bit and to really observe, okay, what is doing trying to give me in that moment?
It's trying to give me a sense of safety, and a sense of like, I'm worthy. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think a worthiness type of
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. 100%. And that often, and this is so interesting because for me, self-worth is a pendulum that swings. It swings from taking action like crazy to I'm I'm not taking action at all and I'm depressed and I'm in that mode because I know the one that you described, I know that too for myself. The
Mm-hmm.
doing. It just swings continuously around that self-worth
Yes.
story.
Feel like social media doesn't help at all. Like you constantly have what other people are doing at your fingertips. And it can seem like everyone's doing everything while you're like on your couch looking through social media, just like revving up the anxiety of like, oh, everyone is doing all these cool things. And here I am scrolling TikToks for an hour, just like, and then you
Yeah.
go, oh my God, I did nothing. And then punish.
Yeah. And then the panic kicks even more in. And then we
Yeah.
go into act until we're like, oh gosh, no, I'm
Yeah.
too scared and I'm not worthy. And then we're scrolling again. And it's kind of like going back and forwards and back and
And
forth.
your whole system is taking, your goal system is taking control of that inner
Yeah.
narrative. It's bringing it
Yeah.
back to you and recognizing, being able to
Yeah.
not just scroll for hours going, oh, let's wake up here for a second. How am I doing right now?
Yeah. And this is why the love capacity is so crucial because that is really working with us with the worth. When you embrace all of you, when you love the part that scrolls and you understand, oh, sweetie, it's like, I get you now. I see what you wanted to do, or the part that is constantly doing, you're like, oh, okay, I can see that you're really wanting to feel safe and to know that you're valuable. And that is so sweet. And when we really learn to connect with that sweetness, with all of our parts, that is what builds confidence within ourselves. And
It's,
it's a confidence, it's not so much the head confidence, it's like a really felt, embodied trust.
being able to sit comfortably in the seat of self. And that's what I
Mhm.
recognize a regulated nervous system. When I feel calm and grounded and confident in a moment, in a workspace, in a presentation, I feel like I am sitting comfortably with who I am, and no one else can impede that. And it's my favorite place to be. Whatever that emotion is called, grounded emotion, sure. That's where the power lies. That's where the joy actually
Yeah.
lives, and it's all within our control.
Yeah. And what I love with that is because we are being comfortable with it all. It's not
Yeah.
just I'm comfortable with joy and happiness. That's easy. But I'm comfortable with sadness. I'm comfortable with failure. I'm comfortable with disappointment. And the interesting thing that happens then is that the more we are comfortable with these sensations, the more we're willing to take risks because we can hold for this. I can hold for being disappointed. And the thing is also with big dreams, the risk of being disappointed is high. The risk of failing is high because the dream is big. So
Yeah.
we got to learn how to embrace that. I'm willing to feel disappointment. I'm willing to feel setbacks. I'm willing to feel the failure because I love it.
And you, as a creative, you definitely are going to get faced with a lot of rejection
Yeah.
and a lot of no's and a lot of failure. Like that's just what comes along with it. And I think that this
Yeah.
is yeah, what you're saying is, can you find the joy in it? Can you find the love in that? Like for me, I now phrase it
And
as,
the safety. Yeah.
and this, oh, and the safety in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. What are some daily practices or rituals that people can adopt to nurture this this love within themselves?
One practice I really loved, and that was shared with me through my trainer, Alisa Nobriga. She did this one exercise with us where we took a picture of our old version of our child version. So
Okay.
4 years, 5 years. She put it on the nightstand and she's like, look at this every night. Look at this every night and really see. Well, first of all, because for me, this was actually really challenging at the beginning because I couldn't open my heart towards that 4-year-old version of me. But that was so fascinating to witness to. And
Yeah.
so the more that I did it, the more I was like, oh, okay, I can see you now.
Mm.
I can feel love for you now.
Mm.
And so now I look at the picture of myself with a 4-year-old and I'm like, oh, she's so cute. She has all these cheeks. And it's like, I could just
I
like
bet you were an adorable kid.
super
What an
adorable. Yeah.
what an interesting exercise. I've never heard of that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, the realization, if you can't even look at that picture, what else is going on? I'm glad that you can now look at her with a little bit of love and kindness now.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
to use dance. Yoga is a big self-love thing for me. Somatically, I find it's one of the best things I do for myself because it's movement with meditation. And to me, it feels like a deep sense of like caring for myself. That has been tremendously. So that's something that I do as a form of like love for myself. But I can also see it in like some of the decisions I make, like whether or not I choose to see a certain person, go out for a dinner, treat myself to something or other. Like, can I acknowledge that as like a loving act for me? Or even know, like if I have to turn something down because it's better for me because I need that rest and it sucks. I hate to disappoint that person, but I have to do it. I try and acknowledge that that is a brave act of love for myself because as a people pleaser, that used to be really freaking hard for me, really, really hard. But it's an important, like, that's an act of love for me. And as much as I give so much love to other people and I care deeply for those in my world, that love also needs to be given to me by me. Other people can't be responsible for caring and loving for us in that way. Like we also need to do it for ourselves, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. One thing that also helps me is to remind myself of the truth that everything holds good intentions, meaning everything that I do, whether I do it consciously or unconsciously, it does hold a good intention. And this is a tricky one for many because they're like, oh, yeah, but how can self-criticism hold a good intention? It does. It's just a very helpless expression of the good intention that is underneath. And so reminding myself of that really helps oftentimes because I'm like, oh, okay, this is here to help. I just need to understand how it's trying to help me.
Yeah, I have a similar thing that I do like it because I know that fear or those thoughts is just our mind trying to keep us safe by keeping us small, by preventing us from doing the things that we want to do because oh my gosh, because the standing on stage or posting on TikTok feels similarly to being chased by a bear, nervous systematically, somatically it does. So I try and when I feel that in a similar way, I just kind of ask myself, is this true? Which I got tattooed on my wrist. Is this true? Is this my brain trying to keep me safe right now? Or is it true? Like, and then you get to decide, you get to choose your thoughts.
Powerful question. Yeah. You will love Byron Katie, by the way.
I need to pick up that book immediately.
Yeah.
If you could give one piece of advice or leave one thing with the creatives who are struggling with self-worth and their nervous system regulation, who are listening to this podcast right now, what would you want to leave them with today?
I hope that they got from this episode a sense of compassionate understanding towards themselves. Because I feel the more we learn about our nervous system, the more we can understand it's not personal. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you less. It has literally nothing to do with you. It's your instincts. And knowing this can really help to understand how you can meet yourself with a bit more compassion. And I feel that is the first place where to start.
Thank you so much for being here on the podcast today and sharing all of your wisdom and insights with us. If anyone is listening to this podcast right now being like, I need to learn from her, where can our listeners find you and connect with you?
Yeah. I mean, you can always reach out via email or via Instagram. I'm sure that we will give the links to that.
Right in the comments
And
below.
yeah, and there's soon going to be actually a very nice starter package, an online course called the Nervous System Work. So if people are interested in that, I'll share the link towards that as well so that,
Please do.
they can book it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want all of those links so that anyone who is interested in working with you or just wants to stay in your world a little bit can connect with you immediately.
Yeah. And please do connect. This is something that really matters to me. Send me an email, even if you're not sure if you want to book something or if you don't want to book something and something just resonated here. Send me an email, ping me on Instagram. I'm always very happy to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marlene. I really appreciate your time. Now time for the legal stuff. This podcast is presented to you solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I may be a professionally certified coach myself, but hosting a podcast is not coaching. This podcast should not be used in substitution of working with a licensed therapist, doctor, coach, or other qualified professionals. Copy that? Amazing. See you on the next episode. Nothing but love, Jess.